So I just want to quickly say Colin Clark is from the Inclusive Design Research Center in Ontario, and my coworker Jean Jansen is from the Universal Subtitles Project. And our plan to start is basically to split up into 3 groups. We can split up into 4 if there are more of us. And we're each going to take a piece of content, of educational video, and try to work out how we would build discussion around it. Just start brainstorming. For those of you that do have computers, there's a lot of information on the wiki and on the Etherpad. Hopefully we can get someone with a computer in each group, just as far as things to think about. We thought of some common problems that we would suggest trying to address around your piece of content when you're thinking about the way that you're going to build discussion. One being relevance, how to make sure that people are talking about the same stuff and in kind of the same discussion. One being distraction, how do you make the discussion an enhancement to the educational learning process instead of a detraction from it. One being about context, how do you make sure that you can trust the people you're talking to or know that you want to have a conversation with them? For example, that they're not just asking you to do their homework for them, if they're asking you a particular thing in the video discussion. And motivation and seeding. How do you encourage people, particularly people who might be used to a traditional learning context, to engage in productive discussion around educational video, again, to create that deeper learning experience.
Should I write those issues down so we can...
Yes, please do.
Okay, remind me of them again.
Yeah, so relevance.
Relevance.
Distraction. Here, I'm going to turn this towards you and see if people, before we break up, if anyone else has any other ones they want to throw out there for people to think about. Yeah.
Hi. So I don't want to distract you. Some context. I wear a bunch of hats at different organizations. The one initiative I've been starting up is something called the DTC Lab. It's based in New York City, and it's basically engaging in the same kind of design challenge, but over an extended period of time. So we have 6 technologists, and we actually have 6 educators, and we're rapidly prototyping interactive learning experiences over the course of about 8 months, so 4 months for two design cycles. And we've done about 3 weeks of concepting, and 2 of the ideas that are emerging center a little bit around video, and I would love to hear people's thoughts on it. So one of the big concepts is students learning by teaching, and specifically for a particular math teacher, throwing out this idea of kids producing video tutorials where they show each other the process of solving a math equation. And right now it's like still a pretty vague concept, but essentially they're building this digital library of math tutorials, and also a physical, we're going to create like these little toolkits in which they can also create a physical library. So you have a physical library in your classroom and also a digital one that they can share, and the idea is that other students will vet whether they were good at explaining the video. But how we start to think about how we structure that video to facilitate the kids in making that is something we're thinking about. The second idea is around math again, and it's thinking about how you make math relevant in real life. There's something called like the 3 acts of learning, and the idea is to, in popular media content, and especially in like film and things like that, to basically find hooks where it's almost like instead of Mythbusters, almost like Mathbusters. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone here that's not American. But essentially like showing Superman jumped over from this to this, and what math is implied in that, or like the cheese didn't melt, like what was implied in that, but attaching that to a cultural artifact that other people can then access this bank, use that hook as the video hook, and then also do a video explanation. So that's another concept.
Cool. So maybe like either at the start, or we're going to kind of have several parts, you can kind of do a group around how to apply.
This is another topic, but I wondered just to get I hate categorization and labels or anything, but to get a feel for everyone who's here, if we want to go through that now or later. How many people are developers or coders or people who work on the web? A couple. People who would identify as designers who draw or wireframe or think about learners a little bit. Educators. What other labels, categories, all this awful stuff? What am I missing?
Journalists.
Journalists. Excellent.
Video producers.
Community management.
Oh, cool. Video producers?
Johnson, do you have?
Yeah, I had one more
Yeah.
timing, like real time time aligned versus
So wait, is that real-time interaction just on the
that's
content level or people or everything?
everything, all
Everything.
of that, yeah.
Real time.
Like timing problems.
And one of the caveats I'll just give really quickly is I think this topic is like huge, and so we've tried to narrow it down to this one particular piece around discussion. But I also encourage you to think about like how other pieces could be pulled in productively or melded with discussion to be this something else.
About that and about relevance, how do we define educational video?
Sure. So we have a few different pieces of content. I think it's broadly defined, and you can in your group decide how you want to define it. We've defined it as content that is particularly educational in itself in some way. So the three pieces of content that we have to start with, one is a lecture from MIT, a computer science lecture. One is a how to make beer video from the Brooklyn Brewery Institute that Tom's gonna head up, and one is a video from is a nature video intended for kids around topics.
But if you have other videos that you think are awesome and want to talk through, use them
Yeah,
instead. That's
split them up. Our main goal was to have some different types of content to try to draw some different pieces. So I want us to get it out of our blog so we can start hacking. But we're going to come back together in about 45 minutes and then we'll switch it up and move on. So I think that maybe we should just count off.